Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Amna. Good afternoon. All good? All set?
Yes, sir. All set.
Perfect. He's joining. What's his
Yeah,
status?
yeah, he's joining. I was just waiting. He said he has a meeting, so he'll
Acha.
be joining anytime now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I may not stay. Means I'll keep this on, and the recording will happen. But
Hmm.
there's other call happening, so I'll maybe just do a hi hello with him, and then I will continue.
Sure, sure. No worries. Great. So I was just telling Hamna regarding her missing out on the Diwali celebrations on the campus.
I think we are discussing and planning कि कैसे करना है. So maybe either December or Jan. So for sure the students will be coming to
Hmm.
campus for sure.
Right.
That's something which we are figuring out. So whenever there is clarity and a go ahead on that, we'll plan for it. Just hoping that the second wave doesn't is not as bad as what it is made out to be. If
True,
Yes.
true.
all goes well and if things are in control, then
Hmm.
I think December onwards, the students can start coming to the campus.
Hmm. True. So let's go live then. अभी तो नहीं तो आप रहोगे till the time he comes in. Let me just send out another reminder to him.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hey, hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Mukesh. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Priya, how are you?
Very well. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great. Jumping
Good
between
afternoon.
meetings?
Jumping between meeting, yes. Continue.
Great, great. So that's Professor Harshit Desai, head of the innovation program. You had reached out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Thank you. I think it's such a wonderful coincidence that the mails crossed, and I think we reached out, and you reached out, and we both arrived at the right place at the right time. And
Yeah.
I think it's always been an attempt to kind of bring people like you who are in the thick of action. I think that's the whole approach that we have taken for the MIT ID innovation program,
Mhm.
because in terms of where we come from, like we have been running the design institute for 15 years. Then
Wow.
there is a kind of a huge legacy of running engineering and management programs in the group. But
Mhm.
this particular activity, we felt that because it's such a broad term innovation, when we started, we were also kind of
Mhm.
exploring that where do we really put a finger saying that, yeah, this is what we mean by innovation. But finally we found our sweet spot, saying that wherever design, technology and business kind of intersects is where innovation can happen. And
Yes, yes, yes.
it's always better to kind of be party to the actual action, and be it the industry or the startup ecosystem, or individual innovators who are kind of working on something innovative, is where we want to be with. And that's where we are building the ecosystem together. So that's
Sure.
how we look at the entire activity. And thanks for being part of this. And although Capgemini has been a good supporter for us, with a few other team members also who are part of the activity here. uh,
Great.
but yeah, means, I'm sure there's so many things happening at your level, so more the merrier for us in that way as well.
Makes sense. Sure. Thanks.
Where are you based out of, sir?
I'm based out of Mumbai.
Ach, Mumbai.
Yeah. The first time in my life, uh, 8 months at the same location. Earlier, it would be 3 locations in a week on average.
No, no, I can understand. So the pandemic has brought. I hope it is good for you, or you are bored being at one place now.
I'm not bored. I think I'm busy now. My day starts in San Francisco at 8 a.m. goes to and continues, and then they ends in San Francisco again.
Oh,
So
that's
becomes a little longer, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. A little longer, but enjoying. But I actually now able to spend a little bit more time to my passion for teaching. As you know, right, I'm advisor to 9 colleges, universities.
wow,
So I'm able
fantastic.
to do lot more there,
Good,
both
good.
participating in research and talking to students, and actually working on updating the syllabus, and of course teaching, which I always enjoy. So that is, I'm able to spend more time there. So that's good.
Good for us, sir. Because again, while we talk about people from the industry, this is the most important trait that somebody should have, because not everybody can be a good teacher as well. So I think once you are in the practice, and if you have that passion, and I firmly believe that it's very passion driven. Means you need to enjoy it. You If you enjoy being with students, spending time with them, I think that's something which is really a good thing, and then you can kind of get best of both the worlds in that sense.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So we'll look forward to it, sir, because as I mentioned, there are so this is just the start. There are
Yes.
many more opportunities for us to collaborate, and now since you have that passion for teaching, uh, we'll
Sure. Of
will
course.
spoil you for choice, sir.
Definitely. Both teaching, what should be the right syllabus, how project coaching, hackathons. I think it's a good combination because there are different ways of learning.
Yeah.
And yes, I started with teaching like about 9.5 years back when I came back to India. But
Oh,
then I realized that I can do better by doing faculty development workshop. So my first one was at BITS Pilani when they invited me to deliver to faculty. And that
wow.
actually gave me a boost that yes, I think if I get faculty, lot more people will get benefit. So I started focusing on faculty. Then once I became advisor to BITS Pilani and Chandigarh University, Somaya, multiple places, even JSPM, Nare campus, I'm advisor.
Oh,
So
wow.
I started making the change in syllabus, the way we teach and everything. I think even if we do, like, I would say 1%, I think it's still beneficial, I would say.
True. Fully
Fantastic.
agree. Fully agree, sir. Yes, Priya ma'am, over to you. I think we are just short of 1 or 2 minutes to start the webinar,
Right,
so I will let
right.
you guys take the control, and I'll be there in the back end. But please continue with the show. All yours.
Sure. So I guess pretty much the audio check, video check, everything is sorted. We'll just enable the screen share. 1 minute. And that's done. In fact, we can set it for recording and let's go live because it's 3
Yeah.
p.m. sharp. So
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Yeah.
We'll have Hamna, who's a student innovator, and she will introduce the session and, Mr. Jain. And that's when his talk takes on from there.
Sure.
So all the best. And yes, we're all around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting initiative by MIT ID Innovation Program. This is our 40th industry interaction this season, and I, Hamna Beni, student innovator at MIT ID Innovation Program, welcome you all to this thoughtfully curated innovation journey. On behalf of the core team, the alumni, and the cohort of 2020-21, we are grateful to be safe and among you all hosting this session today. May this Diwali light up new dreams, fresh hopes, undiscovered avenues, different perspectives, everything bright and beautiful, and fill your days with pleasant surprises and moments. Happy Diwali to one and all. For those who are joining us for the first time today, we would like to share that MIT stands for the ever progressive 4-decade young Maharashtra Institute of Technology. ID stands for MIT's 15-year young pioneering institute of design. MIT ID's latest contribution to strengthening the global innovation ecosystem is the one-year innovation program, which focuses on the 4 pillars of design, business, technology, and humanities. The key features and differentiators of this one-year course are a hands-on, highly customized, pro-practical, project-based, project-heavy based learning, deep immersions, and humanities. We tested our agility, adaptability, resilience as a team when we seamlessly delivered value-add experiences to our student innovators and the innovation ecosystem at large via close to 50 industry interactions across the disruptive year. More value-add series lined up as I speak. As promised, our open online courses focusing on innovation essentials have been launched this quarter. The duration of these certificate courses will range from 1 month to 9 months, in addition to a full-time one-year campus-based course. Our master classes begin on 21st November 2020. Moving on to today's session, we now welcome our guest faculty innovator, Mr. Mukesh Jain, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, VP and Global Product Head of 890 by Capgemini. He is an educationist, author, coach, and technobiz leader with 25 plus years of experience working with Bill Gates, Satya Nadella, and Mukesh Ambani. He has built and led multiple global teams and delivered analytics and AI-driven innovation R&D products used by millions of people worldwide like Outlook, Hotmail, Bing, analytics, advertising, big data telecom analytics, artificial intelligence, IoT, special analytics, media apps, and companies like Microsoft, Reliance Jio, NICE, and Capgemini in USA and India. 890 by Capgemini is a flagship product offering that enables capabilities to deliver large-scale product innovation by leveraging data, insights, and AI for global Fortune 500 companies. He is the brainchild for setting up Millennial Garage, which enables grassroots product innovation in Capgemini. He was recently awarded Capgemini's most prestigious award, Lagniappe, in June 2020. Previously, he worked in Microsoft for 13 years, mostly in USA, building products like Outlook, Analytics Platform, and Bing Advertising. Vice President at Jio, leading product management, advertising, and analytics. Also, head of NICE India. He is a mentor to Mr. Chandrababu Naidu's dream project, International Institute of Digital Technologies, IIDT. He is on advisory board, board of studies, adjunct faculty, and regularly teach at B schools and engineering colleges, including IITs, IIMs, BITS Pilani, NITs, and many more. He has published articles in Times of India, CIO Review, and Silicon India magazine. He is an author of books delivering successful projects and web performance improvement. He is now writing books on applied analytics and AI. Please do read the chat for important pointers shared. Warm welcome once again, Mr. Jain. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share my screen now and we'll start the presentation. It's an honor and privilege to be here as part of the innovation program at MIT. I'm going to share some of my perspectives, some of my experience in leading innovation at multiple places across the globe, and also highlight some of the elements about what it takes to get there. Here, we'll definitely talk about lot of data, but also I'll highlight the elements about what it takes to get there, some challenges around that as well. Okay. With that, let me start. So as my introduction has already been done, a little bit about to highlight, when I spent 13 years at Microsoft, I joined Microsoft when I only had 4 years experience and poor in English, not sure how to speak in people, first time in US. And there was a opportunity when I heard about that Bill Gates gets a lot of junk email. I raised my hand and said, can I solve that? That was probably an example of पूछने में क्या जाता है. In English, there is no harm in asking. That gave me an opportunity to write Microsoft's first ever AI program, 1999. Yes, 21 years back. I know some of you were born by that time. Point number 4, that is what I want to highlight here. Yes, I published 2 books, and I enjoy talking to students, and that is what I do with advisor to 9 colleges which I am. Help them shape up their curriculum and help them shape up how do we teach new ways of teaching, and most important, how do we create the innovation culture in our students. Just think about it. We are all busy, or at least we think we are busy. With that, what happens? A lot of opportunity does not come to us. I would say that that thought process about busy is sometimes kills some of the innovation. We want to do, but we don't know what to do, where to start and all. The fact that all of you are spending this 1 hour today with me, going through this session, that shows you are passionate and that shows you want to learn new things. So good. I would say it's a good start. Another cartoon. By the way, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but there are a lot of students who follow me on Facebook, and sometimes they post some of these good pictures. I shamelessly copy them and put in my presentation because there's a meaning to each one of them. Look at this. It's important to take advice from the right people. By the way, 1998, 1 year before I joined Microsoft, I asked somebody, my friend, what it takes to get up into Microsoft. His brother had got a job in Intel. He told me, Mukesh, forget it. You can never get into Microsoft. I said, why not? No, Mukesh, you don't have this skill, that skill, everything. He actually gave me a big list of why I could not join. But hey, पूछने में क्या जाता है? September 1998, I applied, I got into Microsoft. Remember, your dreams and everything do not depend on what other people say. Do not take advice from the wrong people. By that, what I mean, your peers, people with 2 years, 5 years experience, all are your peers category. They don't know the world, they don't know the industry. Do not take advice from them. Take advice from the senior people in the industries, your faculty and all those probably have slightly more than what it is. So it's important to take the right advice. Otherwise, you never know. I would never be in Microsoft if I'd taken the advice from my friend. Now, while talking about innovation, especially data-driven innovation, what's the need? In my experience, if I see, I'm sure some of you may relate to this. 1750 is when mechanics started. Yes, 270 years back. The first form of engineering, any form of engineering, 1750, right? But it took 150 years, solid 150 years to get to the electric. First electric, 1900, about 120 years back. So 170 years to get to the next revolution. It took half of that time, roughly 70 years, to get into electronics. Another half of that, about 35 years, to get to the current system which we are working on, the cyber system, the internet, and the 4Gs, and so on and so forth. Some of you may argue that artificial intelligence is already there. I have a different view. I think we are still very, very early stage of AI. I think most of the AI will come in the next 2 to 3 years. This is what I believe. Last year, NASSCOM invited me to one of the event in Bangalore. It was they asked me to conduct masterclass on AI. I accepted. I went on a stage. I see 600 CXOs in the room. So I raised the question. Raise your hand if anybody have seen AI or used AI in their day to day. Several people raised their hands up. When I asked them, if you're only referring to chatbot, Siri, Cortana, or Alexa, you can put your hands down. Most of the hands went down. This is the reality. This is the reality that we are still very early stage of AI. Okay, even if the CXOs are not aware of this, who else would be? So considering MIT have taken this initiative of innovation and everything, I'm sure some of the element on the business side and the technology side would, some of the AI element would help scale this even better, because yes, that is the future. And my focus always has been throughout my 25 years journey is been how I can use AI, on better and better design and user experience, which I'm going to share today around here. Okay. Now let's talk about the business landscape. The current business landscape is users have choice. A single line, users have choice. We all agree to that. When you trying to book an Uber to go from MIT to, let's say, Pune station or Pune airport, and this shows like this, how many minutes are you going to wait? How many seconds? 7.2. That's the India average.
You will wait only for 7.2 seconds, otherwise you'll move to another app like Ola, or you will try to take Meru, or you take a rickshaw and then move on. Users have choice. Yes, when you don't have choice, you wait, and wait. Even though the expectation is that anytime, anywhere, any device we should be able to have, which is what Microsoft Mantra was. It's the reality now. Last 3 to 4 years, it is the reality that yes, you can pretty much do anything and everything on your mobile devices. Now, when you are going to have those kind of experience, what do you want? You really want to understand the usage of people. How are people really using the products so that you can make better products? So when the Outlook was showing you circle, or Uber was showing you circles, and you decided to move to another one, does Uber know that it was taking time to load? That's the reason person went there? I don't know. That is where the important part is analytics to understand the usage and accordingly innovating those parts. There's a growing need of data, by the way, the use of data, right? Not just for decision making, but it's also for user experience. Okay, the design, how we do it and all. And now organization is calling it as data or analytics. Recently, Capgemini, our CEO, announced that we are going to focus on 2 pillars, data and growth. I'm happy to say that when I was elevated to the global CTIO or Chief Technology Innovation Officer for data, was very, very humbling for me, because now we have to make sure everything uses data. Each of our client uses our data, and it's important. It's important to have the data-driven innovation, because otherwise what? We are going into a totally different direction, which I'm going to highlight. If you're not using data, what are you using? Okay, so competing on analytics is the next big thing which is happening. Some of you may know this. Kano. Kano was the scientist who suggested that over a period of time, things move in a certain direction. So he came up with the 4 quadrants. And by the way, this is important. Even though the slide is 18-year-old, this slide is 18-year-old. Okay, the phone you see is about 18-year-old, but it actually sends a message very clearly. 18 years back, when somebody say, "Wow, you can do email on the phone," it was a wow factor. It was a delight factor. Camera on the phone, amazing. Now, we don't go and ask, "Hey, can I do email on this phone? Hey, can I have camera on this phone?" No, we don't ask. We don't even ask the word smartphone. We just say, "I want a phone," and we understand it is going to be smartphone with not just 2, 4 selfie cameras, and so on and so forth. We don't go and ask that nowadays, right? Does it work on 4G, 5G? No, we don't ask all those. So in this 4 quadrant, what you see is the must-haves on the right side bottom. And this is important for, especially for user experience, the design part of it. The must-haves are on the bottom side of it, red color, without which you will not buy, which means, are you able to make a phone call and receive a phone call? Yes, of course, it's important. Without which you will not do it. But at the same time, there are other things like dissatisfied. Yeah, the phone is little okay, but the battery is taking a little longer, but I'm okay. Compared to or dikha, more is better. Show me more, which includes some of the elements like I want to have more memory, I want to have 1 camera, I want a 2 camera, I want a 4 selfie camera. All of those things are more. And then the delight. Wow, you can do that as well. Fingerprint sensor, the image recognition, a lot of those parts. Even though we may call it delight right now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, it might become a commodity, which means it becomes must-haves. So what Kano says is that all of them goes and moves into must-haves. Now, why am I talking about this? Specifically, when you're talking about innovation, innovation doesn't happen as somebody, okay, now you are in charge of innovation, now do innovate. No, I'm an innovation officer. Doesn't mean that I innovate. I need to make sure I enable organization. I enable my colleges where I'm an advisor. I enable students through these sessions. And of course, I enable my company, my employees, and whoever I'm giving this session to be able to do say, hey, this is how you start with innovation. This is how you start thinking innovation. And we all know the companies which we decided not to innovate in digital era, they don't even exist in the Fortune 100 list. That is exactly what I'm meaning. So Kano says that everything will move to the must-haves, and then we need to continue to innovate to have the delight factor. Otherwise, we are outdated. We all know that about it. So when you talk about data-driven innovation, first thing you need to understand what is data. Okay. As soon as I say data, I'm sure you might be thinking about an Excel file in front of you, some tables, some numbers, and all those things. Yes, that is correct. 3.9%. 3.9% of the data is in Excel file, which you see it in front of you, which means a big portion. 96.1% of the data is still not there in the Excel file. It could be in a database, it could be in images, video, audio, text, anything. but the data. So now you know what the challenge is. If we don't have data, what do we do? Right? So we're going to talk about what are the data. By the way, when we see data in Excel, there's somebody have worked hard to get the data to that point. The data engineer, the architects. The first element is the measurement. Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter. Take any road because you don't have a goal anyway. So first element is all about goal. How best the goal is, how well your goal is to be able to know where you are going. And without which, of course, it's not useful. When you talk about data, we have to go into a little bit more details. Somebody say, what is data? Data doesn't come first. Before data comes measurements. As an architect, as a user experience people, we are supposed to first have the right thing in place so that we can measure. Okay. So data is about qualitative and quantitative measurements. Qualitative and quantitative measurement, which is being calculated and then being shown, okay, as a data to people. It actually is a combination of activity and inactivity which generates data. Important to know that. So most of the reference material you will see which says every activity generates data. I don't agree with that. I don't. Because what about inactivity? Each one of you since 3 p.m. have not checked your WhatsApp. That's your inactivity. Your inactivity is generating data. Okay, you need to know what those are. And then, yes, of course, you are active on this session, but you're inactive on WhatsApp. That's your inactivity which generates data. You need to capture that on those. Next part is about structured and unstructured data. The data what you all see numeric is the structured data. There are lots of data which is unstructured as well. And the unstructured data examples are the text. I'm sure you all see, right? The Twitter and the Facebook and all. The text which is there, free form text is unstructured data. Okay. Then the structured data, unstructured data could be your voice, your images, your video. All combination are your unstructured data. A combination of this makes you the data. And last but not the least, the intent part of it. Intent. You should know what your intent is. For example, if you search 2020, what do you expect? 2020, right? What do you expect? Cricket? Of course, cricket. What else do you mean by 2020? There's nothing else, right? But yeah, there is Abdul Kalam book 2020 this year, 2020. There is a weight loss program in US 2020. There is a talk show in UK 2020. There's a Parle Biscuit 2020, and there is iVision 2020. With so much meaning of 2020, how do you really know what you're looking for when you're doing a search on Bing or Google? How do you know? And this is exactly the important part of AI and data, but understanding the meaning, even though you're not sad so. Instead of asking you, hey, what do you mean by 2020 and all, you'll be upset. But yeah, understanding the user and identifying what the 2020 is. When I wrote this algorithm, when I was at Microsoft, 86% of the accuracy we were able to achieve. Still, long way to go. It's not just very simple. If you're in US, you show US result. If you're in India, show India result. No, it's not so clear. You could be from India, in US, waiting to watch the 2020 cricket score. But no, you should do weight loss program. No, you should do talk show. No, that will be the wrong way to do it. And by the way, whatever I said about data and all of them become useless if I don't put a rupee symbol or a dollar symbol before that, which means the business value. Whatever we do, right, there has to be business value. The user experience, the design, the innovation, whatever we do, it is not just for the sake of doing it. It has to be based on the business value. Okay. So as we talk about data, the next logical things come is the analytics part, right? So what do you do in analytics? The Wikipedia definition says it's a scientific process. The word scientific is important. It's the scientific process of deriving insights. Understanding what is happening there from data. Extensive use of facts and statistics and all. Can you explain with the data? The whole combination of those. Of course, there are lots of courses available. I also do some workshop, but my workshops are more like 2 days, 3 days workshop focused on making people data literate. And yes, I use the word data literate because yes, a lot of things can be done in the data. Yes, some people go for the courses and all of those are good. I am advisor to some of those courses as well. But the most important part is if you want to do it, the thought process on the research, the thought process of how do you enable your better design and all, then this becomes a lot more important, I would say. Okay. The elements of data, analysis, your insights, and everything comes there. So the whole process is like this. You have data, you start analyzing, you get insights. But on insights, only when you make decision and action, that's why it gets business value. Otherwise, it's just a report for you. So if I have to summarize, At the core, at the center, it is your data. Your data, without data, nothing can happen. Then on top of it becomes analytics, which means I'm able to use multiple data sources. I'm able to analyze things and so on, which is good. Next comes your machine learning. Machine learning. Can you learn from the data? Some of you may have done the Kudos courses, right? Data science courses and all. Very, 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 very powerful way of looking at the patterns from the historic data and then come back to them. 1999, 2000, when there was no Python and R, when I proposed that we will collect the data and see how people are using the application, people thought I was crazy. It was a good example of machine learning in the beginning, but the important part was how I can understand the pattern of user experience and I change the design. In a few minutes, I will talk about that as well, how the design was changed just by using data. And of course, after machine learning comes your artificial intelligence. Sometimes you may have people argue with you saying that yes, artificial intelligence does not need data, it can be done without that also. I agree. There was one instance like that in the history. I don't know, but was it 35 years, 40 years back? The first computer program of playing chess, first program was artificial intelligence based without using data. But that is it. Even the next version of the same program was using data. Yes, if somebody argue, yes, give that answer. But important part is you need to understand this is the whole journey. And I have seen people short circuiting, directly jumping into AI, which is okay. But I don't think people are going to really understand how other things work. Might be a challenge as you go forward. Okay. By the way, if you want to write an AI algorithm, it will not take more than 2 hours. Just go to Azure or AWS, write some code, and you're done. Your image recognition is ready. But would you claim yourself you are AI expert? I doubt. You will not even understand the basics of data, but then they're going through the journey is what will be required after that. So when you talk about robotic process automation, we're talking about a good combination of machine learning and AI. Then you talk about virtual augmented reality, again, a good combination of machine learning and AI. And then as you go for digital transformation, this is the place where you're talking about the data and the analytic piece, and of course the IoT part, okay, which is purely on the data and the analytic side. So you at least get an idea about all of these buzzwords when you hear what do they really mean. Okay. I don't want to be this to be theoretical lecture, right? So I want to make sure you understand some of the real example. And the example I have chosen are the one which you use every day. Okay. And that's the important part for me because you will be able to relate to that. And of course, you can ask me a lot of questions at the end. But the most important part is when you look at the product, yes, now I understand this is how it was done. That gives you better recall and gives you more inspiration that yes, if I can do it, anybody else can do it and everybody can do it. Some of the elements we need to understand how it was done. The inquisitive thinking also is important, which I will cover towards the end of the session today. So the question you might ask, what it takes to get into successful data-driven innovation, right? So that it could be your business challenges, it could be your ideas, it could be your insights, and especially outside in thinking. All of those things goes together and it slowly funnels down and then comes with the idea, okay, fine, what can be done? Okay. At the same time, if you look at it, right, it's not just about how well you are able to come up with the system about insights and innovation and organizational agility. It's a combination of those which actually leads to your execution piece. So always remember that it is a combination. You cannot just say, hey, I've done innovation, I'm doing this part. It is always a combination of things together. Okay. Let me spend some time talking about one of the things I have done, and purpose here is to see how the data can be used. And one of the learning I want you to have from here, this session is everything is possible with data. Okay. So let us look at this. About late 99, early 2000, I was at Microsoft and I asked this person, how do we design the user experience? User experience was a totally new word. I had zero knowledge. I'm a computer science graduate, so nothing much. I know very much doing in engineering, but nothing more than that. So we're looking at it, how do people use it? So I had an idea, like, how about if we capture? Because one thing which was pain point for me was menus. Doing something, I just go click here, click here, click here, click here, and all the manual, everything which was there, thick manual, thick books, all about menu. If you pick up any book, 15 years old, 20 years book, it's all about menus. They all screenshot are about menu. I don't know if you noticed that. So I was like, too much emphasis on menu. Can we do something about it? And that curiosity, can we do something about it? Right? I've given trouble to a lot of people, but just by asking this question, can we do something about it? So I thought, if we can measure what are the menu item people use the most, and then limit the menu item around those. So I was thinking crazy, some idea here, some idea there. Bunch of this after I did, I came to know that maybe I need to have a slightly bigger thinking, something out of the box thinking. So I was too much focused on menu. So what I did was, I said, let me capture user behavior, which was, I want to see how do people use the product. That's it. So I came up with the idea, spoke to some other people. People said, yeah, Mukesh, this might be there, but I don't think so. This happened, blah, 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 all sort of answers. I wrote a small program, which was embedded in the Office applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, all of those. And all it was doing was capturing the activity the user was doing. Just that's it. I click here, I click here, I click that. I click that, I do this, I open this, whatever this was, no PII, no personal information, just clicks. I don't know if you have noticed that sometimes it opens up a dialog box. Office says that participate in customer experience improvement program. If you have seen that, that was something which I built about 20 years back. The purpose was to capture every activity person do globally and come up with a collective understanding that what are the top 25 things people ever do. Only the top 25, nothing more than that. Luckily, it worked. We got a lot more data than we thought. We got this top 25 tasks, and that was the innovation we did, which is called Office Ribbon. You would have seen this one, old style menu compared to this ribbon, compared to what we still have in Notepad. You would have seen this. What I'm trying to highlight here is things which are taking as high as 7 steps was brought down to 1 or 2 steps. We did a research after this, we were able to realize more than 70% of the tasks people are able to do with just 1 click. And if within 2 clicks, up to 95% of tasks, they are able to achieve it. I think it was a fair deal. Bringing those, understanding those user experience, identifying those tasks people normally do, and making it available for the full design. I would say the design, the innovation in the design happened for Microsoft. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of press at that time. Microsoft got lots of awards for this new design on the design awards, and that's how it was done. Wanted to show you under the hood how it happened and so on. This actually enabled easy discovery. The product usage of Microsoft went up. Prior to this, my data showed 11.2% of the features were used by people in Microsoft product. After this was done, it jumped up to 47%. More than 4 times jump. How? By making it easier for people to know. Okay. And of course, higher adoption means higher productivity. You're able to do in 1 click, you will do better and you'll save probably a few seconds here and there. But overall, it's a good experience, I would say. These are some of the screenshots. Now let me take another example of search. I'm sure all of you do search, Bing or Google. When you get the search results, ever ask somebody why the search result link is the blue color? Think about it. I don't think so you have asked that question. As a design students participating in this kind of innovation, I want you to all to have that curiosity mindset, the attitude to ask question and all. I asked this question 2006 to one of the senior person. Why is the search results color is blue? Okay. And then they say, okay, and then they said, yeah, there's a reason, and they gave me some good reason. It was a good reason, I would say. But then I argued again, saying that why this shade of blue? Just having blue is not enough. I thought, let me ask, what is the shade of the blue? Why we chose to have that particular shade of the blue? And the answer, the person said, Mukesh, I don't know. But tell me what you have in your mind. I would say that was a good, motivation for me to discuss further. And I said, I don't know what I want, but I think we should run an experiment to see which shade of blue is the best shade of the blue. The person liked it. We said, let us do design of experiments. I also done Six Sigma Master Black Belt, green belt, black belt, master black belt. So some of the elements I liked over there as well. the design of experiments or experimentation, you can call it. I did that to find out which color is best. Typically, what we do, we create a survey, we ask people, people will respond, we will have a user focus for multiple years. I love it, by the way, doing that. But this time I thought, let me do it totally differently. See, think once I do, twice I do, the third time there's no learning, right? No new learning. Yes, it is a job, you have to do it. But the learning comes when you are trying to come up with a slightly different idea, slightly different, innovative or slightly disruptive idea. So that's what I did. Instead of going the traditional way of doing user focus group or surveys and everything, I decided to run an experiment. Simple experiment, by the way. Divide all the users who come to Bing randomly 10%. Change the color of the blue results to darker shade of blue, lighter shade of blue, 10 different shades of blue. That's it. Nobody was told anything, just did it. There was a risk. People may not like it. There was always a risk. But the general manager was good. He wanted to take the decision because he was not able to answer why which shade of blue. Plus, there was some learning for us to be done. Yes, you cannot have perfect, safe thing, which is what we are used to right now, right? The fear of failure is too much for us. We say, no, I want to be safe. I don't want to make any simple mistake. But yes, normally if you make some bold decision, if you take something, the risk might be there, but the reward might be much higher. So the general manager, I appreciate him. He ran this experiment, and then we saw the results. So experiment was the whole data set divided 10% randomly. A blue color was assigned to each segment randomly. We went live. That's it. Some people suddenly got a darker shade of blue. Some people suddenly got a lighter shade of blue. That's it. We kept the experiment running for 2 weeks. Results were in. We were surprised. We checked, double checked, triple checked. Results were correct. 54% increase in click-through for a particular darker shade of blue. So our shade of blue, which we are using, was fifth color with about 3.7% something, the click-through, compared to the 9th darker shade, which gave us 5.4 and higher click-through rate. Huge improvement in terms of how it was happening. And what else? We changed it overnight. We changed it, the color. 2 days later, the new color was there. That the darker shade, second 9th darker shade of blue, second from the darkest. And we went live with that. Now here, the learning is, if you don't know, run an experiment, check. Yes, some people might take a decision for whatever reason, but yes, always good to check and see how it was done, where it was done, and you might get some good insight there as well. If you think about e-commerce, one of the things you will always observe, you get recommendation, you get advertisement, and you get lots of things which are relevant to you. Recommendation is the best part of e-commerce. Some of the companies I consult, some of the things when I write recommendation engine, you would notice that the better the recommendation engine, the better the click-through rate, and so on. So why it is important? So when you go to a site to purchase something, you go to the site to purchase 1 item, 2 items, but based on the recommendation, if you end up purchasing more items based on the recommendation, that is considered net additional revenue. Because the psychology, you have to also remember, because you are part of the design team, design and innovation. So that is what I teach when I teach people design thinking and innovation, especially in the user experience domain. I highlight the element that when somebody goes to an e-commerce site, they have already made up their mind that I want to buy this item. So technically the sale already happened. The sale has already happened in their mind. So when they go to the website, all they are doing is they're making just a payment to close the sale. That's it, right? Which means you go there, the person will buy. But yes, then when you go give them a coupon, then we give them a recommendation and all, you are increasing the probability of something else to be purchased. Okay, so the whole part about site layout, where should we put in on the left side, right side, how many steps and everything. And I can tell you, there are some best practices people do, but there are some crazy practices also, which you should experiment. Experiment. The mindset should be always open. I want to experiment. I don't know what is right. I've seen some sites and all, some place in my past career. 8 steps to get to checkout. 8 steps, seriously, it's way too long. And some places, no, just click, purchase. They force you without showing you the breakup of the cost and charges and all. Okay, because sometimes they just want you to get the things done. So it's the balance. The better the balance is good. You need to understand how best the layout will do and so on. And always look for end-to-end, the marketing side and everything, the offer response rate, everything. Does this person do a better response at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m.? All powered by data. So the whole user experience is part of it, rather than just bombarding people with ads. And come buy this. It would have been better with the recommendation and with the experience. That, hey, if the person is buying this, what is the right set of things we can target and bombard them? This is a simple one, an interesting one you would have seen. Whenever you crash any Office application, you see this button which comes up, send error report. When I came up with this idea, I was told by my manager, Mukesh, that's the most pathetic idea I ever heard. I said, why pathetic? He said, Mukesh, no one will click the button. I said, fine. I still build it. He was right. Only 1.4% people click the button. Only 1.4. I don't know whether you click a button or not. That's okay. Only 1.4% people click the button. My manager was right. But you know what? When the product is used by 300 million people, 1.4% is more than enough. I was able to get enough information to understand why it is crashing on that Pearson machine and what should be the solution to do that. Okay. Of course, I got an award for this innovation as well. The purpose was to see whether is it this particular menu item, the steps or the code or the data or the browser, what was the reason for the crash? Just collecting the data using clustering techniques, finding it out, and then coming up with the probability of using logistic regression and identifying these are the 2-3 reasons it could have been a crash, and so on. And my favorite, junk filter. It's important to notice the junk filter was not about keywords. So yes, a lot of people focus on junk filter using keywords. I don't focus on keywords. The 4 years, when I had only 4 years experience, when I heard about junk filter, same thing. I tried to understand how it was done. There were PhDs, people who built the junk filter using the keywords. And my argument was the junk filter should not be based on keywords. It should be based on the behavior of a person. Think about it. Are you going to read an important email? Are you going to read a junk email for more than 5 seconds? Are you going to delete an important email in less than 6 seconds? Probably not. That was my algorithm. As simple as that. It's important to have the user behavior captured because AI, I'm passionate about AI, but AI is all about behavior, how I behave, when I behave, in what circumstances, what decisions I take, how I take decisions. It's important to understand that element. And I keep telling people, AI is not technology. AI is a mindset. That's why it's very important for us to implement that or bring this into the user experience element, the design element. It is taking longer for AI to come mainstream, even though my first algorithm was 21 years back. It's becoming longer and it's difficult. Why? Primarily because people are still thinking it as a technology. Oh, AI, some black box and all. I had an argument with one of the professors from the Indian Institute of Statistics. When he said AI is a black box, I said, no, sir, with all due respect, I don't agree with you. AI might be a black box, but yes, you have all the opportunity with software engineering to make it a white box or even a glass box for that matter. It's important to understand this element as well on the AI side. So the opportunity, of course, some of you may already know this, right? About 8 years back, Harvard Business Review mentioned this, the sexiest job of 21st century. It's true. It's coming true now. Bloomberg, recently in a publication about 6-8 months back, mentioned $512 billion opportunity by 2026, 6 years from now. So the early adopters, people whom I'm coaching and grooming in some of the colleges, wherever I'm an advisor, we have already launched the program. It's already there, live. I say, hey, I'm not going to be advisor just for the sake of advisor. If you want me to be advisor, and yes, there are some colleges, no, they say no. And I decided not to advise them. We already have launched program, BTech in computer science, specialized in data science, already.
I also as an executive sponsor at Capgemini have signed MOU with some of the universities and say, yes, I want these students, when I come out of them, I want to hire these students. And also I'm now at Chandigarh University as an advisor to research as well. So a lot of research is happening in AI for agriculture, AI for social cause. Huge opportunity, I can tell you. And of course, the industry expectations are not rocket science. Standard expectation, ability to leverage data, simple, expected, immersive user experience and design. Immersive user experience and design powered by data. Just because I say mera wala blue, my shade of blue, doesn't mean that I'm right. It has to be powered by data. It has to be looking at the data and see, hey, we change the color. Is it really helping? We are keeping it on the left side instead of right side. Is it really helping? All those elements, the design element has to be taken into consideration, powered by data. Okay. And model, like, do you understand the model? Like, where do you use clustering? Where do you use logistic? Where do you use design tree, decision tree? All those elements are the important part of it. And the bottom line is how things work. It's very interesting when I ask people, how does Google Maps work? And people say, I don't know. Seriously? If you are an engineer, if you are using an app, why not ask that question? Yes, I don't expect everybody to know everything, but yes, some expectation is there in terms of understanding those parts. Okay, coming up with a new idea, problem solving, upskilling. Sometimes it gets into the point where people say, oh, you want to become jack of all trade, master of. I say, wait a minute, not none, some. Jack of all trade, master of some, which is what I like to do. There are some skills. I'm just going to glance through some of those so you get an idea about those. So when I talk about data literacy, even though I do the proper session there normally, but you can talk about somebody who can read and write data, somebody who can argue with the data, interpret, and then have some targets along with the data. All of those elements are about data literacy skills. Important to know that this exists in some people. This need to be more and more prominent for a lot of other people. So in combination of these skills, there are other elements like curiosity, attitude, and aptitude. So curiosity, the jigyasa, how things work. Albert Einstein once mentioned, I'm neither clever nor especially gifted. I'm just very, very curious. Mark Twain, it ain't what you don't know get into trouble. It's what you knew for sure, but it's wrong that gets into trouble. Which means you need to be curious. You need to validate all the things every day. Then you get it. Just because, oh, this is from the design thing, design 101, and you're doing the same thing for people have said. No, I don't think that actually helps. Okay, the curiosity is a human mind. I think early age, when we were 1 year young, 2 year young, 3 year young, we had that curiosity. Even today, you see a lot of kids have that curiosity, but we as parents, we as teachers probably kill that curiosity. And then with the fear of failure and everything, become a lot more busy. And of course, we all are a lot of busy, right? Sometimes people are more busy on WhatsApp than anything else. But yes, it is what it is. Aptitude. Are you able to understand this? Aptitude, the knowledge are part of it. Understanding of data, in and out of data. The modeling part of it, the business domain part of it, and of course the technology part. The aptitude, without aptitude, of course, you cannot do, right? And the attitude, my favorite part. This is what I taught my kids when they were young. For anything, any question teacher asks, raise your hand. And if you know the answer, definitely raise your hand. The fear of failure is so high that sometimes, even though we know the answer, I don't know what will happen. Log hasenge to? What if people laugh? What if my answer is wrong? Kuch ho gaya to? All this negative thinking inhibits from us to coming up with this example. The pushne mein kya hai, I already talked about. There's no harm in asking. The attitude need to be there. Curiosity we talked about already, and NR is anything and everything. That's what I do. Anything and everything can be used with data. Okay. So in conclusion, I think there are a lot of opportunity for data-driven innovation. So if you go from bottom, what kind of offering we have, right? So we are talking about innovation, we are talking about real solution, the aha moment, the Kano moment, anytime, anywhere, all those parts are your offerings, your design, your product offerings. Then comes your quality of service. Does it work? Does it have intuitive UI? I don't know if you have seen it. There used to be a book called manuals. For every software you used to get, there used to be manual. It will have all the detail about how to do this, what menu, every items and so on. Nowadays, we don't get those. Why? Because it's everything intuitive. How many of you have, once you got a new mobile, you actually looked at the manual and see how to open the mobile? No, you don't. Because that's the user experience. It just works.
The expectation on the reliability, performance, everything is there, because ultimately it's all about day in a life, how it works, and customer support and all. If you have a great product and a great service, the next thing you need to look at it, are people using it? The adoption and the satisfaction, the pride. Harley Davidson, the CEO of Harley Davidson, he talks about every year in the annual report, how many people tattoo Harley Davidson on their arm. Why? It's important for them. That's the pride factor. Satisfaction people have. iPhone was in the pride factor section probably 3 years back. It's no longer there. But yes, it's important for people. How can we attract and retain the new user? Not just when I give 200 rupees off, people come and use my services, but it's all about can they continue using that? That's your adoption satisfaction. And ultimately, again, with the dollar symbol and the rupee symbol, the business results, the people, the employees, the customers, the revenue growth, everything, and sustainable. Can you bring this sustainable? When I was interviewed by Flipkart for a CTO position a few years back, I was not sure about what the sustainable model is. I kept asking, you're making 3,000 crore rupees loss every year. What is your sustainable model? When I asked this question to Bansal, he didn't have an answer. And I was like, not sure whether should I join the company or not. I decided not to join. Okay. And last slide, my personal learning. Always the Pooch Nahi Kya Aata is always on the top of my list. A person with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. Action without results is noise. You need to focus on result, of course. If somebody can find a mistake, why can't you yourself find? It's important to have that mindset that yes, whatever you do with perfection. Point number 5, I copied from 3 Idiots. Focus on knowledge, marks, and success will follow. And your Shubh Chintak, point number 6. Important to know the word Shubh Chintak, not necessarily well-wisher. It is a meaning well-wisher, of course, but in Hindi, it has better meaning. Your Shubh Chintak is somebody who will give you candid feedback. So have the Shubh Chintak with you. Okay, plan, estimate, track, improve continuously. And that's what I think I've learned a lot by doing this. Anything and everything with data. There's learning in everything. So collect data and analyzing is always good to do that. And do what you enjoy. And that is something which is very important. I would say in my 25 plus years experience, maybe there was like 6 months or so where I did not enjoy, but remaining everything I did enjoy. So I was enjoying, I was having fun. And by the way, I was also getting paid for that. Okay. So that's where I would say. And last point, give back time to the community. That's how I give back time to community. This is my way of giving back. I encourage all of you to do that as well. With that, I'm going to pause here and I'll let you ask any question you may have. Moderator, over to you for any questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And that was really an enlightening session for all of us here. And I'm sure all your insights and learnings have helped our audience here. So we would like to give the audience a glimpse into your educational path. You're a college topper, having graduated in computer science and engineering. You have continued to learn and upskill across the years at Carnegie Mellon University, IIT Bombay, BITS Pilani, and LinkedIn Learning. So since we are talking about data-driven innovation, we would like to know, when did innovation and its evolving importance actually enter your life?
Very good point. I would say I was always a troublemaker, right? From my college days and all my, even in college, several awards I received because I was a troublemaker, but always was trying to do it in a different way. So I got some award there, but then I realized that, if I continue to work in status quo, what is my value add? Why am I an engineer? Why am I a computer engineer? So that curious thinking and all that childish thinking, I have it even now, right? I'm still not that old, by the way, but yeah, that childish thinking is always there. I started using data even long before I got my degree in data analytics. By the way, I just got my data analytics MTech degree from BITS Pilani last year. Okay, so I was doing that, but the innovation part came in when people started realizing, people started appreciating it. Mukesh, your idea was good. Then I thought maybe something there is a value to do that. Otherwise, I'm just asking question, challenging question was, I would say, easy, but I'm not really sure whether it's helping people, helping me, or troubling. So that's where I think the innovation started, especially when I was interacting with Bill Gates or with Satya Nadella and all. And that's when I realized that, yes, I think the lot of thing values are there. And then I came back to India working for Jio with Mukesh Bhai and come up with one idea. And by the way, I'm sure you would have observed when you got your Jio SIM card in September 2016, some of you who got it, every few days, few weeks, the quality was improving, network quality. You can thank me for that. That was a simple innovation we did, wherein I said, let us capture the number of bars each of the cell phone have it. With that, we'll be able to know
where the network is good or not. And that was the innovation, right? Data-driven innovation. So I would say my innovation probably, I would not say I've done a lot of innovation, but that curious thinking and all helped us as a company, as be it at Microsoft, be it at Geo, or be it at Capgemini, do this innovation. The recent program I've launched at Capgemini, Millennial Garage, this is to bring innovation at the grassroots level. So people who join from multiple colleges who come in, and I sit with them and I do a lot of this innovation. And now I'm extended to Australia and Germany also. And now I'll be extending it to some of the colleges, the Millennial Garage program, so that innovation can continue to happen that way. So that will be my story of innovation, I would say.
Thank you, sir. It's an interesting journey. So we have one question from one of our participants. I think he wants to get an advice. Would like to know, how can I start a career in data or AI? I'm a dropout.
Okay. So if you are a dropout, right? So I would say the best part is learn online. There are several websites who have a good program. Some of them 6 months, some of them 1 year, and there are lots of websites which are for free also. So do the choice. My suggestion to everybody is try the free one first for 1 month with full dedication. Okay, we commit to yourself and then do it. If you're finding it useful, then you can choose to do it on free or paid. But I would say the programs are really good. Data, just starting that course and doing hands-on practical, be it on Python or R, will give you that edge. And within, I would say, in less than 3 months, you should be able to be enough confident to use data. I have learned that way as well. So yes, initially when I did that, there was no R and Python. But when I wanted to learn R and Python, of course, I didn't have enough time to do that. So I did it everything online as well. So that's how I've done it. Once you look at it, there are lots of free websites available, Kaggle and all, which provides you a lot of data. You start doing that. Enough confidence you will get in 3 to 4 months. Then you can do freelancing work for some people and then start showing value. And then you, before even you know, you will have your own startup analyzing data for people for a fee. And that's how I would say you would be successful.
Thank you, sir. The question was from Mohammed K, and I'm sure his question is answered. So today the automated machine learning is evolving, right? So is it helping the data scientists to overcome some jobs that were tedious otherwise?
Very good question. So it is very interesting. I was visiting US just before the pandemic started. I was in Microsoft office in January, and I wanted to meet somebody who is head of auto ML, auto machine learning. So I went there and I met the person who was working for me, who used to report to me, and now he's head of that department, which was really good to see that person back. So we discussed in detail and all. So by the way, auto ML is already there. Auto AI is also already there. Be it Microsoft, be it Amazon, be it Google, they already have it. So the data science job which were just started and people have started thinking, oh, it's getting eliminated. I would say no. Auto ML part is there for you to get some of your work done a little faster. But who is going to come up with the data strategy? Data scientist. Who is going to look at the data in a different way? Data scientist. Auto ML cannot determine that this 8 months was wrong because of pandemic. Auto ML will say, hey, there is some anomaly I'm seeing in the data. That's it. But as a human, we would know that. We said, hey, wait a minute. From, let's say, from 22nd of March till today, whatever data we are getting is probably is not right because of pandemic and all. We should be using it differently, treating it differently, and all the money merging part and everything. So the data scientist job, I don't think it is eliminating any near future. But just look at the LinkedIn, just look at Naukri.com. Even this auto ML and so on, the demand is huge. At Capgemini, we are aggressively hiring people for data science. They're not getting people. Everybody we hired, they are able to get some good projects for them, and they're already working big time on those. The demand we are getting from client is just huge. Every few days, we are getting a new deal to work on data science. So I think the data scientist job is going to be a lot more important. Yes, the job is not to just run the model. And sometimes I've seen these people, right? People start calling themselves data scientists very early. I said, wait a minute, guys, you just learned the models and all. Be a data engineer, be a data analyst for a few years before you call yourself data and a scientist. And then most important part for data scientists, it should not be that I've given this output. How did you get this? I don't know. The model gave me the output. Those answers are not acceptable, right? There should be more understanding of those. I think people are getting there. I think it's just a matter of a few more years where this become like mainstream, everybody learning in the colleges and so on. And maybe it's not just a specialization, it becomes part of the subject for every college would teach. That is what I would say the future is in this area.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, application of these technologies like AI and all depends on collection and processing, sharing of large amounts of data on user behavior and very other information related to it. So are there any policies to safeguard these personal data?
Very good point. I'm sure when you signed up for a lot of these apps and a lot of these services online for free, the email provider, everything, you read the terms and condition and you said, I accept. You would have done that part. So that clearly specifies that particular provider's policy. I'm not going to name any of them, by the way. Okay. By the way, I'm also part of the Niti Aayog committee for data protection, where I've given my recommendation about what should be done. 3 of my recommendations are already being accepted, and then it's part of the draft plan which has been published. Yes, I think India is going toward that, and the passion we have shown in the Niti Aayog committee also was really good. I would say we are serious about making it part of the policy in India. Having said that, okay, whenever you are using any of the application and all, they do ask you to share your photographs, share your SMS, your location, and your email. All those challenges, right? Those are some of the challenges we do face right now. Those were my recommendation. Make sure you are aware of this part. Do not keep any purely personal photographs on your mobile phone. I always thought the pictures on your mobile phone is always personal until there are multiple news wherein your mobile pictures and all, because you're given access to somebody else, they would have access to those pictures and no longer are the area of wherein it is private in nature. So be careful about all those pieces. So that is, I would say, the data protection part is important, critical. You should be aware of those before you share anything with other people. So with AI analytics and becoming mainstream, people should respect the privacy of the data.
Thank you so much, sir, for clarifying it. For more questions, do reach out to us offline on LinkedIn. Special thanks to our guest speaker, innovator, Mr. Mukesh Jain, for his time and sharing value-add takeaways from his innovation journey. We would like to invite you all to register for the certificate course in leading transformative innovation practice, launching shortly. A guest faculty is Mr. Praveen Joel, former head of Design-Driven Innovation, ex-Barclays, Deutsche Bank, ScopGen, founder strategy forward consulting. This curated series will feature a variety of industry thought leaders and business and technology leaders like Mr. Mukesh Jain, who are now a part of the global MIT ID innovation ecosystem. We recognize the need to reach out to thousands of aspiring innovators and help them gain the skills and knowledge required for their dreams to become a reality. We encourage you to connect with us via our social channels. For those who are interested in becoming top-notch innovators, we invite you to explore our courses that will fast-track your career path. So log on to www.mitidinnovation.com to kickstart your innovation journey with MIT ID Innovation Program. Let's learn, innovate, and lead. Yours innovatively, Hamna Benin signing off. To everyone, stay connected, stay safe, and keep innovating every day. And thank you once again, Mr. Jain.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.